all of the preseason talk, all of the arguments and social media debates can kick rocks now, because we're getting to brass tacks time. Sunday brings us the official kickoff of the 2022 NFL season, which means it's indeed time to, for real, talk about Bears football. And I will say that this is a season that has and possesses some potential for excitement for Bears fans. You got Justin Fields as the unquestioned starter, hoping that he's going to be able to show in year two that he can be the guy. You've got a new head coach in Matt Eberflus, new general manager in Ryan Poles, the announcement that Ted Phillips is going to be stepping aside as team president after the 2022 season, talk of the Arlington Heights Stadium deal. There's a lot of reasons to have, at least now, some level of excitement for Bears football. Excuse me, let me say that right. Bears football! And can't wait to see how this organization finds a way to drain the life force of that excitement out of us. But nonetheless, we are here. And come Sunday at Soldier Field, that infernal dump that looks like the Anunnaki crashed their spaceship in a huge dump fashion inside of the Roman Colosseum, it's the time that the games start to count for real. The Bears host Trey Lance and the San Francisco 49ers. And this is an interesting matchup. You have two of the five quarterbacks that were taken in the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft getting their full chance here in year two to be the unquestioned guy. Well, at least maybe in the case of Trey Lance, relatively speaking, since they retained Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know why the hell you would do that. But anyways, this is a rematch from last year's game, which you look at was one of Justin Fields' better performances. If you're, a lot of people remember the fourth down run. That was a spectacular thing that if you're looking for Justin Fields to be the guy, that's one of the plays that you point at and say, that's why he can be the guy. He had over 100 yards rushing in that game. But the Bears defense, the Decide defense, crapped the bed. The 49ers won 33-22, if you remember. Jimmy Garoppolo threw for over 300 yards and had 2 rushing touchdowns. Deebo Samuel had a big game as a pass catcher, and then Eli Mitchell had a huge game on the ground. I think he went for over 130 yards and a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. So here we are, new year, these two teams facing off again. One good thing about this matchup for both teams is that they come into the game relatively healthy. I say relatively healthy. Very few notable injuries, although it looks like for the Bears, that third-round pick, Velus Jones Jr., is going to be out of action with a persistent hamstring injury, which sucks. Would like to be able to see what he can do, as he's an important pick in the grand scheme of things for the Chicago Bears. He really is. And then you look at the 49ers, looks like they're going to be without offensive lineman Dane Brunskill, so that's one offensive line starter out. Some debate back and forth, or some conversation back and forth about whether or not George Kittle is going to play or not due to the groin injury. I see Bears fans talking about, let's take it off a week. Yeah, it makes it better chance for the Bears to win, except the 49ers beat the Bears last year without George Kittle playing. Let's not forget that. I just want to point that out. But maybe he will do his old favorite team a solid, and Kittle decide, I'm going to sit it out week one. Wouldn't hurt my feelings at all. But what an interesting matchup here. You've got the 49ers coming in off of last season where they were this close. They were a Jaquiski Tart dropped interception away from getting to the Super Bowl. The Chicago Bears riding out the string of the Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace regime. And thank God that's finally done. And that's really what I'm focused on with Sunday is, you've got these two young quarterbacks, a lot of questions about what they can do. I know Bears fans are going to sit there and try and convince themselves already that Justin Fields is the guy. We don't know yet. Anybody that tells you that they know is lying. Anybody that says that Justin Fields is a bust is also lying. You see flashes and you see moments. But that's one of the problems sometimes with Justin Fields that I've seen, is that you'll see flashes in moments, but it's about that consistency, and it's not there. Now, you may point to the preseason and you say, Trey Lance didn't look incredible in the preseason. He wasn't Jordan Love bad, but he certainly wasn't great. Justin Fields looked really damn good in the preseason. Yeah, that's true. But the 2008 Detroit Lions were undefeated in the preseason, weren't they? And they went 0-16 in the regular season. So preseason can be a very, very mixed bag. Let's not read too much into that. And as much as we could talk about this game, like I look at it and I would say, based off of the quarterback position, the Bears certainly have an advantage when it comes to Justin Fields. Not necessarily because he's so much better than Trey Lance, but because he has more relevant game experience than Trey Lance. Like, Fields made way more starts in 2021. He's been in a spot where he's gotten more opportunities. So that brings an inherent advantage. Whereas you look at the rosters as a whole and you say, the 49ers have an advantage there. No, that's not ridiculous to say that at all. This is a team that almost took Jimmy Garbage Pail to a freaking Super Bowl again. So it does speak to the depth of talent on that roster and some of the marquee pieces. From a coaching standpoint, it's hard to know. Like, you know what Kyle Shanahan is. He's really good at being able to scheme things for Deebo Samuel in the passing game, and he's really good at creating a running game, manufacturing a running game with his schemes, with his play calling. But we don't know what to expect out of Eberflus in terms of in a regular season as the head guy. Again, you could point to preseason, but that's preseason. Hard to know how that's going to carry over. But there are some key matchups to really watch here. You've got Nick Bosa, who you assume is going to see a lot of action opposite Bears rookie 5th-round pick at left tackle Braxton Jones. You know, the reality is, if Braxton Jones comes out of this game and doesn't look terrible, that's probably a pretty positive sign. If he plays even somewhat decently against Nick Bosa, then boy, oh boy, the Bears got to feel really good about things, even if they went on to lose this game in week 1. Right? To have Braxton Jones hold up against Nick Bosa in any way, a premier edge rusher in the league, as a 5th-round rookie making his first start in the NFL, that's a big matchup for the Bears. We'll see how much help they give him. We'll see how much the 49ers move around Bosa to try and take advantage of opportunities. I know there's still some talk about the Bears on who's actually going to be the starting 5 on the offensive line. My opinion on this is very simple. You're talking about Lucas Patrick. Well, he can't snap. If he can't snap, then he doesn't need to play over Tevin Jenkins at right guard. If you want to sit there and say, well, you know, you want to put in your best 5, your best 5 includes Tevin Jenkins, period. If that means in week 1 you got to play Sam Mustipher at center, who looked a little bit better in the preseason than he did in 2021, so be it. You know, otherwise you're talking about, do you play Whitehair at center? I don't know you want to do that. I think it's really, really dumb to sit there and potentially bench Tevin Jenkins for week 1, as he looked like in the preseason their best offensive lineman once he got on the field. In terms of other key matchups, yeah, shit, let's just talk about it. It's Trey Lance versus Justin Fields. 2 guys with big arm talent. 2 guys with great athletic ability that can run. This could be a fun matchup. It could be a fun game. What I was really surprised at was the fact that the 49ers on the road with Trey Lance as a starting quarterback are 7-point favorites. I can't believe so much money is landing on San Francisco here. This may sound like a bit of a homer pick, but I feel like that's kind of ridiculous. And this kind of ties into a larger theme around a lot of people picking the Bears to win 3, 4, and 5 games, and I'm certainly not a Kool-Aid drinker here, but god damn, son, they won 6 games last year trying to start Andy Dalton at times and with Numbskull Nagy as their head coach. I have to believe Justin Fields is better than Andy Dalton. I have to believe that Matt Eberflus is better than Matt Nagy. So 6 wins feels like the absolute floor to me. So I'm a bit floored to see the 3 and 4 win talk. I feel like this is a team that's closer to being able to win 9 games than they are 3. That's just my opinion. Take that for what it means. But when I look at this matchup, one of the keys last year to the game was the Bears' inability to stop the 49ers on the ground. If the Bears can hold up against the run, they have a chance here. Put the game in Trey Lance's hands. Force him to beat you. If he does, so be it. But you saw last year that on the ground the 49ers could beat you. Meanwhile, for the Bears, they got to get Justin Fields on the move. They've got to roll him out. They've got to get the ball into Mooney's hands early and often. You know, force him into the game plan. Utilize different types of looks to be able to do so. When I look at this game, as much as I want to pick the Bears to win week 1, I don't know that I can because the 49ers, to me, do have a better team overall. It wouldn't surprise me if the Bears did come out in week 1 and win. Really hard to know, again, what's going to happen with a new head coach and so much new personnel on this team. But this could be a good one on Sunday. I'm looking forward to it very much. I am going to pick the 49ers 23-21. Maybe they win by a late field goal. I'll say 23-20. Personally, to me, seeing the Bears 7-point underdogs, I'd be smashing that all frickin' day long. That feels a bit unnecessary. But I'll be back Sunday after the game to talk all about it, and we'll see if I'm talking about how good Fields and this offense looked in week 1. Frankly, that's all I care about. If they lose this game by 15, but Fields looks really good and throws for over 300 yards, I'm a happy man, frankly. Or are we going to talk about they're going to play it close to the vest, run the ball, try to play defense, and play Bears football, at which point I'll be raving like a lunatic on here Sunday afternoon. I guess time will tell.